Congratulations, we're in the thick of it now. We're going to be beginning our process that really leads us through the whole rest of the framework. And we're really getting into some important stuff that's going to help you along your way. All right, so let's lay the foundation. Where does beautiful singing begin? Well, most people think that singing begins when sound comes out of your mouth. But I'm here to tell you that that's not where it starts. If you start belting out sounds without giving any thought, I can guarantee you that you're not going to achieve the sound that you want. You've got to think about the rest of your body. What happens before you sing is just as important as what happens while you're singing. Where does beautiful singing begin? I'm going to tell you right now, it begins in your feet. What? Yeah. Standing the right way opens up your chest cavity, it relaxes your muscles, it provides stability and supports your breathing. Proper posture also communicates to your audience that you're confident and that you're prepared. Standing in a natural, comfortable position used to mean standing straight without straining. Unfortunately, in today's society, we've got millennial neck. I've got my phone here, and what do I tend to do? Or this, right? That's our tendency. We slouch in our chairs and hardly ever walk. And the meaning of the word natural has taken on a lot of different, usually incorrect meanings for most people. So let's fix that. Before we talk about proper stance, we need to know how not to stand. The improper stances we're going to go through, I want you to know they sabotage your posture, they weaken your support, and they communicate the wrong message to your audience. So first of all, don't stand like a duck. Don't do duck toes. What are duck toes? Yeah. Wide spread out, toes pointed away. The duck toe stance angles the toes outward like a duck. And it's the most common stance, incorrect stance that I encounter. In my opinion, it's really not the worst stance that you can have, but it certainly could be better. Pointing your toes outward creates an unbalanced and weak posture. So here's one, charge, I call it. The charge stance. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Charge. This staggering of the feet makes you look like you're getting ready to charge at the audience. Now, there may be occasions when, for dramatic purposes, you want to do this, but for most church-type singing or even recital-type singing or singing in front of people or whatever it is, avoid this stance. Putting one foot in front of the other will either turn your body slightly off center or more likely will cause you to unconsciously rotate your waist to one side in order to stay facing front. We don't want that. We don't want unbalanced. Here's a little girl style. Little girl style is standing with your feet too close together. It makes you wobbly and unbalanced. It also makes you look like Little Red Riding Hood bouncing on her toes to grandmother's house or, stepping on grandmother's doorstep ready to come in. Men, I'm sorry to break it to you, but standing this way is not going to help you gain confidence in front of people. Now, ladies, you can place your feet slightly closer together, but they still shouldn't be touching each other if you want to look balanced and confident. And if you get them too close, you can be easily, tipped one way or the other. You don't want that. Now, the opposite of this is what I call the sumo style. The sumo style gets its name because it comes from placing your feet too far apart. It makes you look like a sumo wrestler. This is common, especially for those of us with larger bodies. Now, remember, being overweight doesn't mean that you can't sing. Think of some of the greats, right? But I'm this way. This is a tendency that I have. I tend to have my feet too far apart. And what it does is it changes the alignment in your knees and even in your hip sockets, hip joints. And we don't think of that because it feels comfortable to us because we've got extra weight there. Well, we don't want sumo either. So what's the right way to stand? The right way to stand, well, once we've corrected all the problems, you think, okay, I've been standing wrong my whole life. Maybe I should just sit down to sing. Not to worry. Simply take a second or two to position your feet before you sing, and you'll instantly feel the difference. Here's how. Correct standing posture places the feet slightly closer than shoulder width apart. Now, why do I say slightly closer? Because we think of our shoulders as the outside of the shoulder. It really isn't. Okay. The shoulder joint is right here, isn't it? Right there. Okay. That's my outside of the shoulder. So when I say slightly closer or slightly narrower than shoulder width, or you can say shoulder width if you're thinking of the true shoulder joint. Okay, and exactly parallel to each other. In fact, it might feel, if you're not used to standing this way, it might feel that your toes are slightly pointing towards each other, but they're really not. Do a visual check. Look down and say, man, it feels like my feet are pointing in towards each other. Well, you line them up with your eyesight and make sure that they're not, and you'll be good and aligned. This stance maximizes balance and aligns the muscles correctly. Now, sometimes ladies feel that to be so straight on like that looks less feminine. And while I still think parallel feet makes the strongest position, I offer an alternative for ladies because it creates a softer image while maintaining a good balance. And you can slightly off-center one foot if you would like. It is a compromise. Straightforward is better. And by the way, in a similar compromise, the best footwear for singing would usually be flats, if you think about it. Visually speaking, however, heels can look more professional and are usually standard for public appearances. So, ladies, you're going to have to weigh the positives and negatives of various heel heights to determine your personal preference. I've sung in tall boots before. I mean, if you're doing a Broadway musical or Gilbert and Sullivan or whatever, you're going to be wearing all kinds of things, and everything's a compromise when it comes to that. But if we're talking just pure, straight up, no pun intended, posture, the ideal is going to be with the feet, just like that. Now, what's the big deal about posture? Why do we place such a heavy emphasis on stance and posture? Two reasons. Number one, physical balance. I get so excited. I'm just like, oh. Physical balance. Proper alignment and balance reduces muscle tension and provides the support you need for breathing, because it's all about breathing. So if you're going to be unbalanced and you're going to, be kind of slouched or whatever it is, well, then you're not going to be ready to really breathe the way that you need to naturally, organically, authentically, to even begin to create the sound that's uniquely you. You've got to have that posture right. But then secondly, mental preparation. What's that? Well, when you breathe, you should visualize the air coming up from the soles of your feet through your legs and into your abdomen. That's your power supply. For me, finding the correct stance unlocks the mental aspect of breathing. When it becomes habit to you, then you'll be able to, even when you're nervous, you'll be able to find that sweet spot. And posture can help you get there. Now, as far as posture is concerned, we're going to work up from the feet, and that's really, the feet is how I learned years and years ago to have some good posture. Now, further training that I've gotten, and I highly recommend this book right here, and it's the McCloskey Method, Your Voice at Its Best, Enhancement of the Healthy Voice, and Help for the Troubled Voice by David Blair McCloskey. And I know the members of the McCloskey Institute of Voice, and just wonderful people who really know their stuff. And so to summarize how they, and the McCloskey method of teaching people to have good posture, we'll move up from the feet. The feet should balance on the arches. All the weight should not be on the balls of the feet, and they shouldn't be back on the heel of the foot. It should be, all the weight should be balanced on the arches. And then the knees, unlock the knees. Don't keep them locked. They should be in a position of readiness. The pelvic tilt. Now, this is a little tougher, but you gently tilt or rock the pelvis slightly under. Allow a feeling of lengthening along the entire spine. Avoid stiffening or over straightening. In fact, here's an example of going the wrong direction or too far forward. We don't want that. And here's too far back. We don't want that. Right in the middle. So there's lengthening of the spine without letting your head shrink. You should feel an expansion of the lower ribs and a drawing in of the pelvic muscles. Check that you haven't tensed your abdominal muscles. That's a big, big deal. Then the rib cage. Because of the pelvic tilt, your rib cage should be comfortably suspended from the spine. Maintain the suspension while continuing to breathe. Check that the shoulders are neither hunched forward nor thrust back. And the head and neck. As we maintain the posture of feet, knees, pelvis, ribs, and shoulders, feel the neck as a continuation of the spine. Allow the head to be comfortably balanced on top of the spine. Remember, where's the top of the spine? Where's the atlanto-occipital joint? What is that? Well, that's what your spine rests on. A lot of times we think, well, it's right here, the back of the neck. That's not where your spine is. That's not where the joint is. You know where it is? If you take your fingers and put them in your ears, right? I'm pointing right at my ears. Right about there is where the joint is. That's where the joint is. To have your head correctly balanced on top of your spine, you've got to know where that joint is. Posture is the key to breath control and vocal function, and correct posture is balanced and easy to maintain because our structure, our skeletal structure is designed to carry the weight of who we are. So that's really, really important. Now, if you want more teaching on McCloskey, that is a wonderful teaching method, and they give seminars in different places. I highly recommend learning the McCloskey method, and I myself am benefiting much from the teaching. So that's some basics of posture. It might seem like a lot, but practice just getting that posture correct, starting from the feet and working up to the rest of your body so that your arms just kind of hang at the sides and you feel perfectly balanced. And it'll make a world of difference.